Every individual is positive social change waiting to happen. Hashtag awareness plus hashtag communication equals thoughts translating into action.
Media consumption is shifting from prime time to my time, on demand, anytime, anywhere.
When an individual's thoughts are inclusive of humanity, then an individual's happiness is benefited by multiplicity. Hashtag simple math.
Storytelling will become more immersive, interactive, gamified, with video becoming almost like air.
Your thoughts, your words, your actions, your choices will come together to tell your story. Hashtag collective impact. Hashtag be the change.
Media consumption will lead to transactions, the holy grail, without losing the core of entertaining, informing, or engaging with consumers.
I think in our early years, when we're growing up, through our school education, there are many models and many systems that encourage us to become participators, social participators, to make a difference in people's lives. And I think as children, we receive the gratitude that we get through that experience. But as we grow older and start chasing life's ambitions and wanting to do more with ourselves to make money, to grow, to become more successful, we sometimes forget the gratitude that we've received in making a difference. And I think it was somewhere in 2003 or 4, many years after I had continued to participate in many social initiatives, that I discovered that I could combine what I do with what it makes me feel. So the pursuit of opportunity did not necessarily have to be one that only correlated to the ambition to do better in life materially, but also to make a difference alongside. And that was life-changing for me, because I haven't looked back at a single day when I haven't felt like my existence is not entirely insignificant, and that this great opportunity life has given me in expanding my access to people to make a change and use all of it that I do through my everyday work, which is whether it is making films or acting in films or anything else that I do, combine that with the social change that I would like to make and seek to make.
On the auspicious day of All Fools' Day back in '99, which is 1st of April, I founded Hungama. So that's been one of the reasons we've never really taken ourselves too seriously. And I chose entertainment as a category to move in. And the reason I chose that was that when I looked back about 100 years, I saw that almost all major media movements have had entertainment as a very big catalyst. And I thought entertainment in a market like ours, with a history of over 100 years of cinema, with an overall history of over 5,000 years, and the aspect of a very diverse culture, augurs very well for an opportunity centered around entertainment. Starting with music and then taking the entire paradigm to video on demand, original programming, because, the market was also at that stage beginning to transition. And this was being driven by two simple things, if you think about it. It's device and connectivity. Device, given the fact that, more and more devices were becoming a connected device, and we are going to continue to see this happen. And therefore, from these phones becoming, being phones which we use like that, they were coming in front of us, and they were becoming what we term as consumption devices. And the biggest category to sort of benefit out of that was really going to be, video in many ways, and which we are beginning to see with the advent of services like 4G or LTE, etc.
When I was very young, I must have been about 4.5 or 5, and my parents were getting separated. And I'd come back early from school, and I was sitting on the steps of our home, and I was very upset. And my father came along and he said, what happened? Why do you look so sad? So I looked up at him, and believe it or not, at 4.5, 5, I said, I have too many problems. So, so he smiled at me and he walked me into my bedroom and he pulled out the map of the world. And he started to point out the continents. And then he, of course, pointed out India on the map. And followed by that, he pointed out this dot on the map that was called Hyderabad. And I looked at him in absolute bewilderment. And I said, Hyderabad is just a dot, Papa? And he said, yes. Now imagine how big your problems are. And that perspective taught me an invaluable lesson, that we might believe that our problems in life, and that's really what drives innovation, that's what drives purpose. It's our problems that combine to influence the story that we're telling of ourselves. But that perspective redefines and realigns how you want to address your hurdles and your problems, and understand that your world or your view of the world is not limited to the eye. That there is so much more for us to seek and discover and learn from, and that the problem could be a wonderful opportunity to bring change.
If you see the emergence of the gaming industry, it's a $140 billion business. It is technically, from a theatrical revenue perspective, about 12x the amount of revenue that Hollywood films and cinema make out of just theatrical revenues in the United States. That entire advent and the way we look at games, those today for this generation is storytelling of a different nature altogether, because they are almost at times trying to put themselves inside that story. The aspect of what is being termed as gamification of stories, again, a very interesting aspect, which is, it's not you're making them into games, but what you're doing is, by way of one or several actions, you are creating what is termed as gamification, which is amongst the top 10 trends over the last 3 years. To give you an example, let's say you're watching something and you like it, or you comment on it. These could all be actions, but your action itself could be leading to you earning some points, which you can then go and redeem against various things. That again is one more way of a slightly heightened form of immersion, which is beginning to happen, and that's gamification. And finally, as I mentioned, video becoming all proliferating because of the quality of access that is happening.
What I hope to do with many more of you, and hopefully many, many more people in the world today, is to use the opportunity of the discovery that each of us defines our story, and our story is connected to this planet. We are actually the only living, alive planet in this solar system, and perhaps many more solar systems around us. What Earth gives us, a plenty and for free, we will not find anywhere else. So I think what each of us needs to fit into our story, which is in our thoughts, in our words, in our actions, is the awareness that we've actually been blessed to be born on a planet that is alive. And if each of our choices, whatever those may be, choice of consumption, choice in conservation, protection, you could be anybody. You could be a business leader, you could be a teacher, you could be a scientist, you could be a caretaker of old people. Whatever it is you're doing, if we all go forward in the knowledge that the Earth is the only planet we can call our home, it's the only planet that is alive, then I'm sure our stories will combine to create the impact the world today truly needs.
A very successful company which has emerged literally in the last 6 or 7 years. I happened to meet the founder of this company 2 years ago. He goes by the name of Travis Kalanick, and he is the founder of a company called Uber. Uber is arguably now the most valuable startup in the world. And I asked him this question 2 years ago, and I said, you know, why should your company at that point in time, it was valued at 16 billion. They'd raised about $1 billion through Fidelity. That why should it be valued more than Avis and Hertz put together? These are two large car rental companies. I said, they have assets, there isn't any, why should, you be? And his response in the next 30, 40 seconds was really fascinating, because what he said to me was, he said, see, we're in the business of creating productivity out of otherwise unproductive assets. Now, he's using technology here and making us question that when you go back, you're buying yourself a personal vehicle because you think, A, you could afford it, B, you think public transport is not good enough, C, you just, that's what is happening around you in terms of society, etc., whatever. And when you look at it, what that is doing too, and I'm trying to correlate this to your green story of sorts in some ways, when you look at what automobile production has done to oil consumption, fuel consumption, entire environments of urban planning or whatever. And he says that I believe the next 5 years there could possibly be an environment where mankind will say, I don't need to own a car. Yeah. At the touch of a button, when I will get my personal chauffeur available, in 2 minutes, why do I need to do that? And that's the story of an Airbnb, and why do I need to own homes and whatever.
Power is connectivity. Your story shaping the human narrative.
With this connectivity will come a sense of responsibility, because we are going to be leading and leaving behind a digital footprint like never before. And hopefully that leads to greater accountability as well.